Thank you for joining. We're just going to give it a minute or so to let a few other people join. Okay, so thank you everyone. Welcome to our webinar on digital marketing strategy and why your business needs one. We are your hosts, James and Lucy. So I'm Lucy, I'm a digital marketing consultant here at Elixir Digital. I've been in the industry for about 8 years and my specialisms are in paid social and programmatic display.
Hi everyone, I'm James. I'm also a digital marketing consultant. I work alongside Lucy and her team. I've been in the industry about over 10 years and got lots of experience crafting digital marketing strategies for our clients here at Elixir Digital.
Great. So let's start with what we're going to be covering today. So first, we will look at what is a digital marketing strategy and we'll look at why it's important. We'll then take a look through some challenges that having one can address and what are the key components that feed into a digital marketing strategy. We'll also walk you through a case study from a digital marketing strategy we've worked on. We will make sure we've got time for some Q&A at the end, so feel free to drop questions in the chat throughout and yeah, we'll go through and answer them all at the end. So let's get started. So what is a digital marketing strategy? In simple terms, it's a comprehensive plan that uses digital tools and technologies to help businesses achieve their objectives. But a digital marketing strategy is more than just technology adoption. It involves transforming the entire customer experience, leveraging data to drive decisions, investing in scalable infrastructure, and fostering innovation to stay ahead of the competition. So why is it important for businesses to have a digital marketing strategy? So research shows that 70% of organizations have or are working on their digital strategy, and 64% are more likely to meet or exceed their objectives when implementing a strong digital strategy. As digital spending continues to rise globally, projected to reach 3.4 trillion by 2026, having a clear roadmap ensures businesses can effectively capitalize on digital opportunities. So as we've seen, that investment is predicted to grow significantly next year. Looking back over the last 4 years, we also see consistent growth trends in the level of investment in digital, with the compound annual growth rate growing 16% since 2021. So going by past trends, digital investment is likely to continue increasing as technology advances, and it will be crucial for businesses to move with the times. So with all this growth happening in the industry, businesses need to be strategic in their approach to keep up with the changing market landscape. They will need to know their audience, be able to effectively measure their performance, be able to adapt to new channels, and optimize where they are investing. These are all things that a digital marketing strategy can inform. So in summary, a digital marketing strategy helps businesses make the right decisions for digital success. By aligning activity with your objectives, your business can make informed decisions that helps you succeed and grow in the competitive digital landscape. So next, let's take a look at some of the common challenges that a digital marketing strategy can address. So some common challenges may be a business may launch a new website, or they may rebrand, or they could be a new brand being built from the ground up. Similarly, a business could be introducing a new product or service, or be looking to expand into new markets. A business may be experiencing a decline in their performance, or may be looking to set some new objectives for the year ahead. A digital marketing strategy can inform how to tackle all of these challenges and more. And now I'm going to hand over to James.
Thanks, Lucy. So we've addressed why having a digital marketing strategy is important, and we've looked at some of the common challenges that it can help solve. So now I'm going to take you through the key components that make up a successful digital marketing strategy so that you could build one for your business. So I'm going to do that by giving you an overview of a typical digital marketing strategy. I'll go through the detail on what should go into each component. And then lastly, we'll show some examples of the kind of outputs that you should be aiming for in your own digital marketing strategy. So Lucy's just shown us how every challenge is unique, and as such, not every strategy is going to follow the exact same structure, but the journey that a well-rounded digital marketing strategy would take you on would typically include the following phases. And that's starting with phase one, which would be objectives and KPIs. At this phase, you'll be wanting to define your business objectives and the KPIs required to meet them. You'll then move on to a current state assessment, where you want to analyze the current strategy, if you have one, and determine its effectiveness. You then move on to a research phase, where you'll want to define the perspectives of your stakeholders and customers. And you'll take that research and use that to build some personas, where you're looking to understand your target audience's needs, their motivations, their behaviors. You want to take those personas and feed those into your opportunity analysis, where you're determining the size of opportunity for each of your personas across channels and defining some of those key channel tactics you'll need to leverage to reach them. You'll then move on to messaging, where you want to be mapping out your positioning, your key messages, your USPs across your channels, tailored to personas, but ensuring you're also covering every stage of the digital marketing funnel as well. And then lastly, you want to do some road mapping and forecasting. You want to look at doing a rollout plan of activity over, say, 12 months, and also do some forecast models of performance against, say, 2 to 3 scenarios. So now we're going to go through each of those components in a bit more detail, and we'll start with the most important, which is objectives and KPIs. So in this phase, you'll be defining the business objectives of the digital marketing strategy, and you'll want to set measurable, realistic targets to track against those objectives. You'll also want to get a bit more granular as well and actually define what success looks like down at the digital marketing channel level. In terms of activities, you'll want to be detailing whether those objectives you set are performance-based, are you driving leads or revenue, or do you have brand awareness goals, or is it a combination of the two? And you also want to identify what the short and long-term KPIs are for each of those objectives. And crucially, this is really important, you'll also want to analyze your current tracking setup. You might need to build some new goals that need to be configured, or you might want to review your existing goals and update them. In terms of the kinds of outputs you'll want to be working towards, you'll want to make sure that you start with a defining statement of what the digital marketing strategy objectives are. You'll want to make sure you've got a prioritized set of KPIs required to track performance against them, and have a summary of what your existing and your future state tracking capabilities are. So we'll now move on to an example of the kind of output at this stage. So this is like an indicative example of, let's say, a B2B client with challenges tracking end to end. So we talked about how objectives can vary massively. Some clients might want to be increasing revenue by, let's say, 25% for 2026, or perhaps you're looking to drive growth whilst achieving a certain ROI. Whatever the case, you need to set those appropriate KPIs required to meet them. And it's really helpful to think about KPIs in terms of levels. So level 1 KPIs would be those that are either already measured or are very close to being able to measure, or that are critical to measure going forward. So in this example, it might be form submissions. Level 2 KPIs are those that will take more development, or that will only become relevant as your digital marketing activity and capability matures. This might be something like your marketing qualified to sales qualified lead conversion rate. And then finally, level 3 KPIs are those that are likely to require further changes in either how you're actually collecting your data today, or advancements in the types of activities that you're actually executing across your digital marketing strategy. So a good example here might be something like customer lifetime value. So now that you've established your objectives and your KPIs, you can move on to the current state assessment. And here you'll want to be defining the current digital marketing strategy, if you have one, and mapping it to a relevant digital marketing funnel for users or buyers. You'll want to understand how your digital channels are actually performing, and you'll want to be recommending areas for improvement to take through into the new digital marketing strategy. In terms of activities, you'll want to be analyzing website traffic and conversion metrics in an analytics tool, for example, GA4, or you might have Adobe Analytics, whatever you're using. You'll also want to benchmark performance for each channel. So, for example, organic search performance, you would, well, we love using SEMrush here for benchmarking organic search performance, but also things like Google Search Console can be incredibly important. And you also want to go down to the platform level and actually review the performance of your marketing channels, let's say in Google Ads, or if you're running paid social, in Facebook ads. In terms of the kind of outputs you want to be producing at this phase, you want to have a comprehensive report highlighting how much of that digital marketing funnel for either users or buyers or both is covered by your current digital marketing strategy. You might feel, I don't have a digital marketing strategy, but you're bound to be doing some activity at some stage of that funnel. You want to be capturing and documenting that in this output. You want to have a highlight of how effective your current channels are and those opportunities for improvement to take forward into the new strategy. So here's an example of a current state assessment. This is just like a small slice of one that we did for a client in the tech industry. Their objectives were twofold. They were going through a rebrand, but they're also looking at launching a new website as well. And this particular analysis just focusing on organic search. So it's pretty obvious when we looked at keyword visibility over time that for their current site, the most recent site launch didn't go as planned. It wasn't migrated properly. There was a huge decline in keyword visibility that coincided with that launch. The site was now ranking for fewer terms overall, for lower search volume, and it lost visibility against a number of valuable keywords. This was really good insight for us. It's a big opportunity to reclaim that lost visibility, to start reclaiming some of those valuable keywords that have been lost in the previous site migration. Certainly when the new website launches, those are things we want to make the most of. So this analysis allowed us to understand what had changed, what backlinks had been lost because pages hadn't been redirected or valuable content had been retired. And we could take those findings and use that analysis to feed our recommendations for opportunity analysis in terms of what we're going to be doing on organic search, but also fed into our roadmap as well. These are pretty important, month one or even, before you go live on the new website, we want to be undertaking some of these actions. And really this allowed us to generate a challenge statement for us to address in the strategy. So with current state analysed, you can then move on to the research phase. And here you want to be gathering insights from your internal stakeholders and your customers, if possible. You want to be validating any assumptions you might have with data-driven, backed-up research. And you want to be determining market and competitor insights as well. In terms of the activities to undertake at this phase, you want to be conducting interviews with key stakeholders and ideally customers too. You should be looking at performing customer surveys to gather quantitative data on user insights. So you've got qualitative data from interviews, but quantitative data from your surveys too. And you want to analyze what the existing market looks like and take a look at your competitors and their strategies as well. In terms of the example output, to be working towards a data-rich document of internal and external insights is really going to help shape your digital marketing strategy overall, but it's going to provide you with those essential building blocks when it comes to building personas as well. So here we have an example of some research we did for a brand in the insurance market. They were looking to tap into electric vehicles, but also NFTs as well. We ran a survey using their first-party customer data, and we got lots of valuable insights from this research. So starting with demographics in terms of gender and employment, most likely to be male. We could see some of the common sectors and functions as well. We had some really good insights in terms of specific details on electric vehicle ownership, intent towards it, their attitudes and motivations. And we also had the same for cryptocurrencies and digital assets as well. So this was vital information that we were able to use to shape the strategy generally, but also build our personas. So with the insights gleaned from research, you're ready to then build those marketing personas. And really here, you're going to want to be identifying your core customer segments and their pain points. You want to understand what actually motivates your users to engage with your brand, and you want to define how your brand can actually help them. So in terms of activities, you'll want to use research insights, as we've just talked about, to define those key personas. You'll want to be including demographic, behavioral, psychographic details, We want to map out some of their needs, some of their challenges, and it's also useful to map out some buyer journeys as well. And in terms of the example output, so you should be looking at having a set of detailed personas that are going to inform your digital marketing strategy, but crucially, key elements like targeting across paid media or even email, but also creative and ensuring that they are aligned to your customer needs. So here we have an example of a persona that we built. It was for a client in the whiskey industry. They were exploring the potential for online experiences in the wake of COVID. They'd run a load of sort of online experiences during COVID, and now they wanted to test the water, see if they are still viable, see if they're still valuable in a post-COVID world. So to feed this persona, we leveraged insights from a survey that we ran via the YouGov platform to build it. And this example is what we called a whiskey connoisseur. So we have a little tagline for them. Whiskey is more than a drink to me. It's a hobby. It's a passion. We have some great demographic details to help with targeting. So you can see they're slightly older, income around 35K, and mostly based in the UK. We have some good insights on their attitudes to purchasing whiskey, to whiskey experiences, and also tapping into any online. So they're likely to engage with spirit brands online, especially to look for recommendations for new whiskies to try and buy online. They were highly likely to have been to a whiskey distillery. They love seeing the process, learning about the heritage, and of course the tasting. They were looking for personalized experiences around whiskey, and they would actually be interested in an online experience before attending in person. They weren't likely to have attended an online event before, but they would be interested in something like live music or drinks, whiskey experiences when it comes to something online. We had some really good insights around motivations as well around whiskey. So, whiskey was more than a drink to them, a hobby, a passion. They've been drinking whiskey for a number of years. They have a broad knowledge about it. They are comfortable giving recommendations and feeling like they know it would suit them as well. And they know what they're looking for in a whiskey. They're happy to spend good money to get the taste thereafter. Favorite drinks, unsurprisingly, whiskey being their drink of choice, neat being the most popular format. And we also had some additional insights into where they preferred to drink whiskey. So they preferred to drink it at home, but they're also happy to do that at bars and restaurants too. And then in terms of targeting, we had some good details on where it's best to target across social. So they're most likely to be spending their time on Facebook, on Instagram, and Pinterest. So armed with your personas, you can then move on to the next phase, which is opportunity analysis. So here you'll want to be quantifying the audience sizes across marketing channels. You'll want to be assessing which personas are actually giving you the greatest opportunities and defining the digital marketing channel tactics that are needed to reach them. In terms of activities, you'll want to do some keyword research relevant to your personas and the search intent. You want to look at generating some social audience sizes based on those persona targeting details. And you want to do a bit of a gap analysis, how are you reaching the personas currently, if at all, versus how you could be reaching them in the future. And the kind of output to aim for here is an opportunity analysis report outlining your potential reach, giving you a bit of a channel prioritization as well, mapped to each of your personas. So here we have an opportunity analysis example here for a B2B client. They are financial services. They were looking for an objective-based digital marketing strategy. They didn't have one previously. Here we have, you can see we grabbed their persona called the executive, and they were able to, for a combination of job titles, company industries, demonstrate that the total opportunity was around about 2.1 million in terms of the size of the audience. And we were able to give them a breakdown of where the best place to reach them as well, across channels was. So display was the largest segment, followed by Meta and then LinkedIn. So we can do this kind of approach for search as well, but this does require matching the search intent behind the keyword and the relevance to your persona profile. When it comes to something like paid search, obviously we can benefit from additional targeting, such as first-party data lists that we can overlay, or remarketing to ensure that we're actually advertising to the correct persona. So with the opportunity analysis complete, you can then look at messaging. So here you want to be establishing a clear value proposition for each of your personas. You'll want to be defining how your USPs are going to be communicated across all channels. And you'll want to, really key thing here is to ensure that you've got consistency in your brand messaging. Wherever your customers are going to see your brand, whatever channel, you've got this consistent message. In terms of activities, you'll want to be creating a messaging template for different channels. Each channel has different requirements. You'll want to plan creative for each stage in the marketing funnel as well, and then ensure that we've got these core messaging pillars based on our personas. So the kind of output to aim for here is a messaging framework that's going to guide all of your creative marketing efforts. It's going to ensure that consistency. It's going to ensure that you are relevant cross channels to all your personas across every stage of the marketing funnel. We have another example here. This is just, again, like a small slice of a messaging framework. This was for a financial services client. They were looking for a persona-led, multi-channel digital marketing strategy. You can see in the example here, we've just got 3 personas. I think they had about 5 or 6. The marketing funnel here was the awareness stage. And we can see we tailored the messaging for what we know about each of our personas. So for the mitigator, they know whether they're interested in regulations, staying on top of regulations and compliance. For optimizing, they're looking at streamlining their processes across multiple jurisdictions and scalable solutions. And for the visionary, we knew that we're interested in regulations, but also they have specific requirements around wealth management. So each of the creative messaging was tailored to the persona, tailored to the funnel stage as well. So with messaging established, the final stage here is to produce a roadmap and some forecasts. So here you want to be creating a very clear roadmap for implementing the digital marketing strategy, ensuring that you've got every single activity that you need to do, that it's aligned to your business objectives and your KPIs. And you want to be modeling some forecast scenarios based on either varying levels of investment or objectives. There's a couple of activities here, really. It's mapping out those key activities for each channel over a 12-month period, so you know exactly what needs to happen and when, and who needs to do it. You'll want to utilize findings from your opportunity analysis, and also adapting benchmarks from your current state as well, where relevant, to forecast performance. And what do we mean by that? Well, for channels that you are running activity already, you might have identified, let's say you've identified that organic search is working pretty well, but there's some opportunities to drive more traffic. So you're going to want to forecast for getting some more traffic from organic search. But let's say for paid social, for example, you've identified some pretty big opportunities to make some improvements. You're going to want to reflect that in your forecast. So you might want to have a slightly higher conversion rate because you know you're going to change your audience up. You're going to have some more personas, so you might want to have some more traffic. You might want to demonstrate getting more performance out of that channel going forward with the new digital marketing strategy. So in terms of outputs to aim for, really it's a couple of things, really. A 12-month roadmap, ideally, at least, outlining the activities required to execute the strategy. And then it's a good recommendation to look at sort of 2 to 3 detailed forecast models to demonstrate what the potential returns could be. So we've got like an indicative example here for a B2C client. They've got online and offline conversions, and they're implementing a digital marketing strategy for the first time. So in month 1, we'll be looking at setting up website conversion tracking and building their paid search and social campaigns, but also implementing findings from a technical SEO audit that was carried out in the current state assessment. They'll be creating a reporting dashboard in month 2 and building those remarketing lists ready to capture users, and then launching all of their paid activity in month 2. Before moving on to month 3, where they'll be, they've had a month of activity now with their paid campaigns. They'll want to be reviewing how the budget has been pacing and make adjustments as necessary. Then they'll have some organic content to launch for the website, and they'll be setting up their offline conversion tracking, making sure they're importing their offline conversions back into their paid platforms. In month 4, they've done 3 months worth of activity now. We can run a quarterly performance report. This is a really good time to start reviewing performance against your forecast. You'll probably be doing that as you go anyway, but with 3 months worth of data, you've got a pretty good view of the direction that your new digital marketing strategy is taking you in. So you want to make any necessary adjustments and change things. You might have identified that a channel is working much better than you'd forecasted. Let's say it's a paid channel, you might want to divert some budget or even get some additional funds to get a bit more out of that channel. You'd be looking at planning perhaps a seasonal multi-channel campaign in month 4, and then month 5 launching that campaign but also building new remarketing audiences and launching some new activity, let's say always on programmatic display. So now I'll give you an example of some forecast models. So again, this is purely indicative. This would be, again, like a B2C client. Forecasts are going to allow you to demonstrate what the potential returns are. Just spent all this time crafting your digital marketing strategy. You want to try and model out how it's going to play out in terms of performance. It's a good idea to do sort of 2 to 3 different scenarios to allow you to see how the strategy is going to perform based on varying objectives or varying levels of spend. So in the model 1 example we have here, it's a bit more aggressive in terms of the approach to spend. We've got more revenue overall, which you'll see in a minute when we see model 2, but it's at the cost of your return on ad spend. So we've got a lower return on ad spend. We're spending more overall. We're getting more revenue and quicker as well. In model 2, this is for same strategy or same client, but a bit more of a conservative approach to spend. We've got a gradual increase in spend. We've got less revenue overall, but we're getting focusing on like a higher ROAS as the main objective. So now I'm going to hand back over to Lucy.
Thanks, James. So we've covered the core elements of a digital marketing strategy. So let's connect them back to the challenges that we discussed earlier and highlight where each component might play a key role. So starting with a new website, the current state assessment will be crucial for sort of retaining or improving organic search and overall website performance. For a rebrand, user-focused research is going to be essential to understand current brand perceptions, especially any negative ones, so that you can avoid sort of carrying them over to the new brand. When introducing a new brand, having a more comprehensive approach to research will help identify demand, target customers, and competitors. For a new product or service, research again, but specifically market research will be vital here to understand positioning relative to competitors and assess the demand. For market expansion, an opportunity analysis will be key to help determine the scale of target audiences across digital channels in these new markets and sort of guide the focus areas. We're looking at declining performance. Again, a current state assessment will be crucial here. It will help pinpoint which activities are generating positive returns on investment and help identify negative performance factors like we saw in our earlier example. So we looked at the declining traffic post-website launch for our data and tech client. And then lastly, setting new objectives. So forecasting and roadmaps will be key for anybody looking to set new objectives so that they're able to set sort of realistic expectations for any of the recommended activities that come from the marketing strategy work. And I'll hand you back over to James.
Thanks, Lucy. So next, we're going to take a look at a digital marketing strategy that we created for a client here at Elixir Digital and how it helped them solve their business challenge. So this was actually a project that I worked on. So I helped develop a go-to-market digital marketing strategy for a client with it's fair to say, a revolutionary way of buying and selling property. So they wanted to, or they had created a real estate marketplace that would allow buyers and sellers to negotiate directly, cutting out the need for estate agents and their fees. It was a completely new way of doing things, a new brand, new service. So it was a very unique challenge. And it meant that the digital marketing strategy played out very differently to the example just shown. So starting with objectives and KPIs, they had a pretty core issue that we needed to solve right at the beginning, or at least thinking about solving, which was the cold start problem. So as this was a marketplace, if there's no sellers, there are no buyers, and vice versa, no buyers, no sellers. How do we encourage sellers to list their property for sale on a new marketplace where perhaps we've got either little to literally no other listings, certainly initially, when they could be going to Rightmove or Zoopla, where they know they've got thousands of eyeballs on their properties. So really the solution to think about was to ensure, first off, that something called product market fit could actually be achieved. So product market fit essentially is asking the question of, does the core target audience actually want this product? Yeah, it's a new product, right? So how do we know that the target audience actually wants this product? Being able to help them achieve it, but also measure it, would help them know if the marketplace is working and allow us to keep doing more of the things that are going to keep growing it effectively. So achieving product market fit involved an incentivized pre-launch, so there's no fee initially for the first 100 or so property listings. So apologies for the technical difficulty. We just had you might have just heard a very loud fire alarm. So that was not part of this strategy. And I'm going to continue. And hopefully that didn't hurt anyone's ears. I do apologize. Right, picking up where we left off. So yeah, I mean, achieving product market fit. It involved, an incentivized sort of pre-launch. So there was no upfront fee for the first 100 or so property listings. We recommended a single city to attract platform pioneers in sort of a pre-launch phase who would advocate the marketplace. And we also recommended like a referral and loyalty scheme for them to promote it to their friends and family. And pretty crucially, messaging wise, we wanted to reassure them that these sellers are there at the start of an exciting new frontier. This is a totally new thing. So that was kind of creative messaging we wanted to get across. But it also involved balancing conversion rate optimization, balancing user research, continually feeding those insights from those activities back into the platform to improve it. And you might be wondering how this fits into objectives and KPIs. Well, measuring product market fit involved using a range of KPIs. So these included net promoter scores or property listings from direct or organic search channels as good indicators that they're actually achieving it. So a good example KPI would be if they started getting requests to use the platform outside of that launch city, in places that it wasn't live yet. This would be a really good indication that they've achieved product market fit. The target market is trying to pull this product somewhere. It doesn't even exist yet. They're hungry for something like this. It's a good signal of product market fit. So moving on to the next phase, which was current state. Well, there was no current state to analyze. It was a new brand, it was a new website. So moving on to research, the project budget didn't really allow for user research. So and there was no competitors offering the same service, of course. So we actually looked to similar competitors instead. So Purple Bricks and Yopa. Moving on to personas, there was no user research to feed our personas. So we made sort of top level audiences focusing on sellers, on buyers and first time buyers. And then on to opportunity analysis, we knew, new brand, new service, we know that driving brand awareness and building that trust is going to be really, really important. So we explored and recommended native advertising, influencer marketing, and programmatic display. In terms of driving sort of mid to lower funnel, actually driving those property listings or driving buyers to the site to book their viewings, we had recommendations across organic and paid search and also paid social. And we knew that the email would play a big part, or should play a big part in, improving our conversion rates for, let's say, a seller coming to the site, starting that to list their property, but forgetting to finish it. So we knew email would play a really big role there. So we had some good email tactics as well. And we also recommended and detailed out that referral and loyalty scheme to solve the cold start problem that I mentioned at the beginning. In terms of messaging, we mapped out our top level audience. We created messaging to our top level audiences and covered every stage in the digital marketing funnel. And then lastly, in terms of the forecast and roadmap, so we actually had 3 12-month scenarios. We really wanted to see how things would play out based on different levels of investment. But they also wanted to see a 3-year scenario as well. Things do start to get a bit unforecastable, a bit more unpredictable as you get into the second and third years. But they wanted to try and model out when they would actually start to break even and drive profits. And the forecast had, as I said, like a soft launch period. We had fewer channels to make sure we were achieving that product market fit before rolling out sort of nationally using additional investment and launching all of those digital channels from the opportunity analysis. We also modeled what it would look like if they could sell advertising space on the platform once a certain number of visits was achieved as an additional revenue stream. So in terms of performance, we had a target of 20 listings over sort of a 3-month initial soft launch. This is, as I said, a much smaller slice of the full digital marketing strategy with fewer channels to make sure we could achieve product market fit. In terms of the activity we recommended and carried out was organic search, so keyword research and topic grouping, which fed into really comprehensive audience-based content and a very technically optimized website. We ran paid search campaigns to drive property listings and viewings, and we ensured that we were optimized towards high intent keywords related to buying and selling properties without an estate agent. And then we also ran paid social campaigns on Facebook and Instagram ads to build brand awareness, but also drive engaged traffic for buyers and sellers, really trying to drive as many property listings and drive as many viewings booked and ultimately houses being sold as well. So I'm now going to hand back over to Lucy.
Great. So let's just recap on what we've covered today. So we've been through what is a digital marketing strategy and why is it important. We've ran through the key components and looked at the challenges that can be addressed by a digital marketing strategy. And we've also gone through an example case study. So thank you so much for listening. If any of the challenges or topics that we've discussed resonate with you, we'd love to help. We're offering a number of free consultations. So if you are interested, feel free to get in touch through our website. But we'd now like to take some time to answer any questions. So I'm just going to pull open the questions box now.
So it looks...
Oh, we've got one here. How detailed is the roadmap and forecast typically? So this would vary on sort of the scale of the digital marketing strategy that you're implementing. So, for example, if you were to run sort of a 3-year roadmap and forecast, you might have more top level sort of milestones listed. Whereas if you were going to do sort of 6 to 12 months, you might be more detailed. For example, you might have in a longer term digital marketing strategy roadmap that would be a little bit less detailed. You'd have more of a top level description for website tracking, so implement website and conversion tracking. But in more of a sort of shorter term roadmap, you might list out that more specifically. So, implement Facebook website tracking, implement LinkedIn Pixel, and so on.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think a really crucial thing with any forecast models as well, as I mentioned previously, is we can only predict so much. We can put we should put all the effort into crafting the strategy and planning how we think it's going to go. But until the rubber hits the road, we don't know how it's going to play out. So we'll want to be continually reviewing performance, make sure we're allowing enough time, obviously, for campaigners to do their thing and for our strategy to be fully implemented. But like at the 3-month mark, we should be going and looking back at the forecast and saying, how is this playing out? Like, is this panning out how we thought it would? Do we need to make adjustments? Do we need to review and revisit it?
Just reading another question. So are there specific tools you use to conduct a current state assessment? So yes, we've definitely got our go-tos, but they're not sort of limited. Obviously, GA4 would be a sort of go-to for all of us when we're looking at doing a current state assessment. But we also use the sort of native channels themselves, so looking in the back end of like Google Ads, Facebook, and anything else, and plus also looking at what clients have too. So if they've got their own tools that they use, different internal CRMs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, as I mentioned I'm not a spokesperson, but definitely big fan of SEMrush. We use it quite a lot here. It just allows you to do quite a lot of different things in one tool. So we do tend to use that for sort of benchmarking as well and tracking performance.
It looks like we had a follow-up question to the first question. So just to recap, how detailed is the roadmap and forecast typically? How flexible is the overall approach? Was it very flexible? How best to answer that? So yeah, I mean, all of the digital marketing strategies that we've worked on are totally customizable and unique per client, per challenge, per sort of goal that they might have. So like the example that James talked us through earlier, how there were different parts of the strategy that weren't sort of as prominent as they would be in other strategies for various reasons. So they're totally unique for each client and their challenges.
Yeah, exactly. So we have another one here. So after defining personas and looking at doing an opportunity analysis, what channels do you cover? So yeah, I mean, we tailor it really to firstly the objectives. If we know the client is keen on brand awareness, like brand awareness is a big focus, then we know that we'll definitely want to be thinking about what can we do for channels that typically sit at like the upper funnel. So programmatic display, or when it comes to paid social, like what are those awareness driving tactics, even down to paid search, like what are those upper funnel tactics that we can deploy. But crucially, we want to make sure that we've defined our personas right. We want to make sure that we're able to, leverage those channels to meet them. So it's combining what are your objectives, but also what have we learned about our personas, and how confident are we that we can sort of target and engage with them online.
And another follow-up question there, does it work better for organizations of a certain size? No, I think a digital marketing strategy is important for any business that is looking to spend any kind of level of investment. That the level that they're spending needs to be informed in terms of how best to spend it and what's going to generate the best results. And that's sort of applicable to businesses of any size, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, any businesses that are doing digital marketing would be able to review it and review what they're doing and put it into like a strategy format, right? And they might just see that, okay, we're doing some bits over here, we're doing some activity down at sort of the conversion end, we're using paid search, and maybe we've done some display in the past, but things aren't aligned, the messaging's not aligned, or actually we don't know why we're targeting this audience. It's not a core audience for us. So yeah, I think it's incredible. It's incredibly useful for organizations of all sizes to just take a step back and put what they're doing down onto paper and define it in terms of a digital marketing strategy and make sure that it's actually the right thing to do. Otherwise, they just could be leaving performance and growth on the table.
Great. I think we only had one final question, which was if the presentation is available after the webinar, you'll be able to watch the webinar on demand on our website probably within a day or so of the webinar completing. So if there's no more questions, I'd just like to say thank you again for joining. Thank you for taking the time, and please do reach out to us via our website if there's anything that resonated and that you think we might be able to support with.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.